afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to have an info session on the Model United Nations. We're going to talk about the a few upcoming Model UN conferences. There's one in Montreal, which is hosted by University of McGill, and then there's another one coming early next year that will be hosted by Harvard University. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the summer camp. So we're going to clarify some confusions about the summer camp, and also we're going to answer any questions that you guys may have, right? So let me give you a real quick introduction about our two fantastic Model UN coaches. Our head coach, Mark Wu, he's been doing Model UN for
15 years.
15 years, okay? One of the best in Ontario, maybe in Canada. And Nirpan is a true champion of Model UN. So he's a coach. He's helping us with the competition preparation. So there we go. I'm going to turn over to Mr. Wu, and it's all yours.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. So as Henry has mentioned, I'm Mark Wu, and I've been teaching for 15 years in the Ontario area. I've been teaching Model UN as a club and taking students to competition all over North America for many, many years. I love it. It's one of my favorite forms of debate and public speaking, and today through the presentation I hope to be able to communicate that to you. Okay, so I do want to also just start by saying that LinkedKey offers a number of opportunities to speak, and you're here today to hear a lot of other people speak, such as Brent from BP, and also from public speaking as well. I would say that all three types of speaking are parts of the same broader, complete student. Okay? For me, I've taught many of them, whether it's BP or public speaking. I've taught them as well, and I can speak to why all three are different. So then you're going to draw something different from Model UN, and it's going to be different from the other speaking. For me, my interpretation is that BP really, really helps you with logic. The research and the logic are a wonderful benefit of British parliamentary, because you have your 7 or 8 minutes to speak, build your arguments. For public speaking, you have to think about your audience, and you have to work on the social. So you have to be charming and witty and funny, and at the same time strike the right tone. For Model United Nations, you do have to work on collaboration and creativity in addition to those things. So, many of you have experienced some of the programming that is offered here at LinkedKey, and I say all of them are good, and Model UN is just is only a small piece of the broader learning experience. Okay, and so we love to see you in Model UN. All right, so I'm going to start with the presentation. It's a very new program at LinkedKey. We started last year in May with something like 7 or 8 students, and it's now grown to 3 sections of students. The classes are very large, and we hope that students are enjoying themselves and have fun, and they find that both the training enhances their learning experience at school, and we hope that they enjoy the competition experience when they go outside of province and out of country, because it's when you meet others, they push you forward, they push you ahead. Okay? So, an overview of what I'd like to talk about today, and of course Nirpan Sivakumaran is going to mention, is we want to enroll students for competitions already. We want to lay out a plan for the coming year, from September then to the following June. Why? So that we know how much money we're going to spend. We know we can plan travel arrangements. And in addition to that, give you as much time as possible to research and to, reap the benefits of Model UN. So we do two things. We do not only local conferences, we do those to gain the experience and to get the practice, and then we go to global conference to try to get that higher level experience so that we can develop our skills even more. So up until now, the two international conferences that we have visited are SUNS. So that one is at McGill University in Montreal, Quebec. And the second one was in the United States, was Cornell, which is an Ivy League school. And we attended both, and we had an enormous amount of success. Today we'll also be talking about the summer program. We would like to offer you a summer camp experience from the beginning of July to the third week of July. And then we are offering something very, very special, which is our own Model UN conference, where students can actually run their own conference, lead, organize a conference, so they can practice what it means to organize the organizational skills, and then it will help them as competitors down the road. And then some other ideas that we're sort of thinking about in planning as we grow the program in the future. This was taken at Model City Hall in Hamilton, and this was our team going there, and so far everyone gave us a lot of great feedback. They had a great time going, and the most important thing is you don't have to get it from me, you don't have to get it from my mouth or Henry's mouth, get it from the students. Ask Gabriel, ask Ed Mann, ask Anthony's son, ask Eric and Franklin and Shane what they think about Model UN. And they'll tell you it's challenging, it's not easy. The other students are going to make you work hard. They set a high bar. The research is very intense, and the experience invaluable because you have to work with other people. Yes?
So what is Model UN?
Model UN, okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So at the end of World War II, the United Nations was created to stop all future wars. Okay? And so at the same time the United Nations was invented, the UN folks decided that, gee, this is a great experience for students too. Students simulate the United Nations that is in Geneva and in New York. So a student could be Canada, a student could be Mozambique, another student can be Cameroon, and they debate political issues around the world. Whether it is the crisis in Myanmar with the Rohingya, or an outbreak of Ebola virus in Africa, or a currency crisis in Greece. These are issues that cause human suffering, and as mature adults, we collaborate in a room to try to find solutions. Not everyone is going to agree on those solutions, and that's where the debate is. Model UN is a simulation of the real United Nations that exists today.
How to spell it? M-U-L?
No, M-U-N. Yes, Model UN. Okay? So that is the experience that we're trying to give students. And that's, so if I were to go back to what I originally said, in British parliamentary system, you work on research and logic, and it's one person against another person. That's great. Fantastic experience. In public speaking, he might be the best man at my wedding, and he's going to give a little speech about how it was a total accident that I met my future wife, right? And he'll be charming and witty and funny. These are transferable skills in the work world because we have to not only be well researched, we have to be great speakers, but we also have to be likable. We also have to be social so that people want to work with us. Okay? The UN will contribute to all those broad skills. Okay? If some of you don't know this, it's not enough to have good marks to get into Harvard and Yale and McGill University. You have to interview. You can't cheat that. You have to be funny and engaging. You have to be interesting. You have to make eye contact. You have to speak well. You need to manage and navigate that interview. You have to control that interview. So all the programming here at LinkedKey contributes to that. We're offering you as much programming as possible so that you can develop yourselves. Okay? All right. So we're very proud of our first year. We've had a great deal of success, and you'll see Henry is so proud of all the students. He immediately prints off all the pictures, and if you walk around our classrooms, you'll see all our students experiencing success, active in debate, and that's what I love about Henry. He really cares about students, and he really showcases them. Okay? All right. So we're working hard. We're working hard for you. We know the students are investing themselves, and they are bringing home a great deal of success. And remember that it's going to be months, maybe years to develop and grow. We'll have students as young as grade 5, and they're much older, and they're literally on the cusp of becoming post-secondary. So wherever it is that you are, we're ready to receive you and begin you on your own personal journey to advance yourselves and to shape your skills. Okay? Local conferences. So this year, we went to Model City Hall. Where else did we go? We went to King's Christian College. We went to Cedar Brae Collegiate, Model UN, which is the conference that I have created, I have run for 15 years. And my own conference is 700 students from all over Southern Ontario. Okay, so I'm well known in the Southern Ontario Model UN circuit. Okay. In addition to that, we went to other private schools, Bishop Allen. We went to, in the future, we'll go to UCC, Upper Canada College. We went to Havergal, Model United Nations, and King's Christian College, another private school, and we did well at all of them. Okay? So it's one of those things where you have to go out frequently. Frequency develops competence. And so it's not something that you can just draw from a book. It's something, well, like driving. You can read about it, but then you need to practice it. We think the team is ready to go abroad. We think that those things just elevate the experience. We've already gone to SUNS. It's like 1,900 students. That's a large.
Where is that?
SUNS is a secondary school United Nations symposium, which is hosted by McGill University in Montreal. Okay, we went in November. It's usually the third week of November, and Ed Mann went, Anthony went. Eric, did you go?
No.
Nope, you did not.
Welcome.
Cool. Okay, so again, ask them. They're going to tell you that we all had a fabulous time, and we did a lot of personal growth. And just watching them debate just an hour ago, I've noticed how much they've changed and grown. So this is one of my favorite conferences to go to because it's just so well run. Our estimated cost is there, so we will make this material available to all parents. We really think that is cheap because it's local. It's not international. You're not paying in American dollar. We really think for that price includes train, it includes hotel, it includes your competition fees. Then after that, food is to be taken care of on your own. But $650 for a 4-day excursion, that's pretty reasonable. Okay, we want to register now because SUNS has told us that they will get us. They will assign, let's say, Edward Mann, Security Council, Nigeria, as early as July, late July, and then he can start researching from July, August, September, October, and then into November. Okay? Yep.
I can just jump in on
Yep.
such details.
Yep.
Okay, hey guys, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. So, just on Suns, you mind if I just take over for the conference part?
Yep.
So, I just got some pretty interesting information from Suns. Traditionally, they've never really opened up this kind of conference to middle school students or younger. But because we have a really proven track record of very young students achieving awards, I'd like to say, I'm really proud. We have like Gabriel Brooks in the room. He's only grade 6, but he's already won at high school level conferences. And I think that's the youngest I've ever seen amongst all students. So because of that, we've been given special permission from our school to bring in middle school students. So I just got that call and confirmation. When it comes to these conferences, guys, we are really limited on space. We have, I would say, nearly 30, 40 students in our classes currently registered. And if we're only going to be able to take about 20 students max. So if you guys are interested, please let us know. Also, at the end of the event, we'll take more questions on specific conference details if you have them. I think that Suns, again, it's an incredible conference, incredible experience. I would highly recommend it. So this one is going to be a little bit more interesting. This is called HMUN. HMUN is Harvard Model UN. It's a series of conferences all around the world. It's hosted by Harvard University, and they will have 3 major conferences every year. One conference will be at Harvard University directly. Another conference will be in a different region of the world. And the other conference they run regularly is Harvard Model UN China. So this takes place in Beijing. It is happening next year, March 21st to 24th. For a trip like this, guys, please remember we will be staying longer. The idea expected is we'll be staying in China for about 7 to 10 days, depending on how we plan out the trip. I don't think I need to kind of excite everyone about how incredible the trip opportunity is. We'll be traveling abroad. We'll be competing with the best students in the world. It is an incredible opportunity. Again, guys, if you have questions, I will talk about them. I will be a little bit more clear on this conference, though. So what I would recommend is there are 3 kinds of students, if you're interested, should register for HMUN China. The first one would be any sort of mature grade 10 students. What I would recommend are students in our current Model UN classes. So, kind of speaking to some of the guys in class. If you're in grade 10, if you feel you're very mature and you have the experience, I would recommend you going. I'd also recommend it for any grade 11 or 12 students because this is going to be the highlight of your Model UN career. And the last group of students I would recommend it to are students interested in cultural exchange and international experience. I know that in terms of awards competition, it's a really tricky thing. This is the best of the best of the best in the world. So I don't want to have anyone disappointed or feeling like this competition is impossible to compete at. We will do everything we can to prepare all students in advance. But at the same time, if you are interested in traveling abroad, traveling to Beijing, there is so much we cannot describe in the classroom that we could only experience abroad in China, right? There's too much culture and history and information that we need to be in Beijing to really talk about and understand. And I think that the students need to experience it for themselves. I would say this is an incredible opportunity. The cost will be determined. It's going to take us another week or 2 to put it together, but our idea is for this conference, we would also register within 1 or 2 months. For a conference like this, we are planning to have preparation well in advance, and assignments are given out as early as October. So they have nearly a 5-month preparation period. So for a conference like this, guys, it is going to be expensive, but I think the opportunity is just absolutely incredible. And I will take questions at the end about it. Mr. Wu, do you want to talk about the summer program? Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Can I just go to the front, a couple of pages?
Yeah, we'll make this available to you.
Oh, yeah.
We'll make it available. And we do have literature on the front table that already explains a lot of this. It's not even a comprehensive list. We go to so many. I think we went
We're gonna
to...
post this one on the WeChat subscription page.
We went to at least 8 conferences this year, like 8 local conferences. Very reasonably priced, ranging anywhere from $15 to $35. 1-day experience so that it doesn't impact your child's grades at school. We know that you want to also maintain your grade point average at school, right? So we love these local conferences because they're not a large time commitment. It's a 1-day. Some of them are on the weekends. Some of them are during the weekday. So you pick and choose what you want. We know that many of the students here also have a lot of programming on the weekend and they don't want to miss a piano recital, they don't want to miss a math enrichment class. So it's really pick and choose. We run 8 or 10 conferences and you go to whatever makes sense for you, okay? So don't worry, we'll share it with you. We've got lots of lines of communication with you to always keep you informed of all the competition opportunities, okay? All right. So we are excited this year to offer some summer programming. This is, as I alluded to earlier, this is a 3-week program. You're not committed to 3 weeks. You take whatever week you want. It's your summer. It's your summer vacation, and they may have other plans. They may have, say, another camp that they're enrolled in. For, say, I don't know, someone's saying that they're enrolled in cadets, another one is enrolled somewhere else. And so you find the timeline that's best for you. We're putting out 3 weeks, week 1, 2, and 3 of July. Okay? The only one that is a little introductory is the first week. The second and third week are for much more intermediate and advanced students. So if you want your kids, if they've never taken a Model UN class before, and they want to go to SUNS, and now we're ending the program in the weekend classes, and we only have 2 more classes, the summer camp is an amazing opportunity to try to catch up and bridge the gap. Then resume classes in September, and we'll work hard on preparing for SUNS. Yes? So SUNS registration has literally opened up days ago. So we'll be putting out the announcement through WeChat very soon, like literally within the next week, okay? We want early registration, okay? Okay, so just to give you a little preview of what we would be working on. So the first week is not week A. Week A is actually week 2, and week B is actually week 3. So week 1, right, the pre-week, the intro week, we're going to give you a little taste of everything from DECA to public speaking to Model UN, just to give you the experience. If you've never done any debate before, we'll get you up to speed, give you an experience, okay? On the schedule, we'll tell you all the logistics like drop-off time, pick-up time, things like that. Also the itinerary and the curriculum that we plan. So week 2, which here is week A, we want to cover some important issues that will come up in the Model UN world. So we know that the environment is going to be an important topic for whether or not it's the climate change agreement or environmental refugees, or say for the province of Ontario, developing a plan to make Ontario more green, more energy efficient. So students are going to work on those issues that they can see and touch, like our lived environment here in Ontario. We are going to visit Bronte Creek, talk about wildfires, drinkable water, literally hike, have a day of fun, play a little frisbee, be a kid. But we're also going to get back to class, and we're going to do a lot of content acquisition, reading a lot of documents on, what are those things that we need to put in place to make, Ontario a good place to live. The second week, we thought that seeing Toronto would be an excellent opportunity. We'd like to visit perhaps the courts. So if any of you are interested, some of you are interested in seeing, maybe visit City Hall, maybe visit the court system. We'd also like to take the students on a tour of downtown Toronto so they can get a sense of urban planning, to get a sense of the city, what makes a great city, okay? It's not just the food and the night markets, it's also, public spaces, fountains, it's also design, architecture, public art. And so we want to introduce students to these things. They can take it back to their regular school, and these become part of their regular projects. In addition to that, there are new topics within Model UN. I remember that we took Ziwen, a student who was with us in the very first session of the September session. And he went to SUNS, and in his committee, he actually was in ECLAC, the Economic Commission for the Caribbean Nations. And they were talking about, you know, smart cities. I think in your science and technology committee also was talking about smart cities and, you know, electricity and moving off fossil fuels. Again, these are going to be part of your child's education experience in high school, and it's also going to be part of the competitions. Okay, so we're gonna talk about things that you can actually touch. Okay, and then we're going to infuse it within the Model UN framework so that people can debate them and see how to best implement these plans. This will make this available to everybody, the schedule for the weeks that we're planning for the summer camp. You'll see that we're working on giving people a sense of all the different types of debate in this intro week. Okay, we're also going to have a lot of practice. It's not just going to be myself or Nirapan just speaking all the time. 2, we're going to work on logic games. We're also going to work on helping your students with research. Research is a real huge gap. Moving from grade 8 to grade 9 or moving from grade 9 to grade 10 is an enormous task. I actually sit on a committee at my own school Monday to Friday, helping students to transition from grade 8 to grade 9. So it's quite a shock for some students. And I'm sure some of our high school students, you remember the shock from the workload from public school, senior public school to high school. It's quite a rude awakening. So we're going to help your students, your children, work on the research and preparation skills. We're going to work on brainstorming and getting ideas ready. So when we start week A of the intermediate advanced level, we really get into Model UN. We focus just on Model UN. We're going to highlight SUN's background guides. We're going to take the debate topics that we used in November in the competition, and we're going to allow students to debate those sessions. Really important because I actually ran that lesson today in class because I want students to have a second chance at debating the same topic, and then that's where the teachers give feedback. Really, really important feedback on how to improve speech, to improve research, to improve creativity and innovation, thinking processes. Right. The second week will not be the same. We'll move on to other committees, and we will continue to work on advanced debate skills. We'll even introduce psychology. We'll talk about, you know, all the different types of competitors that are at a conference. What is their thinking process? How to help them? How to challenge them? What happens when someone challenges you and it throws you off your game? How do you correct that? I think the highlight here is at the end of summer camp, both weeks A and B, we're going to finish with an all-day conference, an all-day competition. Okay, this is going to be LinkedKey's regional Model United Nations. We're going to invite students from all over Oakville, Southern Ontario, to come here and debate. We're gonna have students, our own students, lead those debates and be the chair, and that will improve them as delegates later on. So we're really, really excited about the Friday, July 20th conference. Okay, so we're going to give you real competition experience. This is additional information. So we're actually going to take interviews. So we're not just going to appoint people. We're going to ask people. So we're going to give them that job interview experience. That's something that I do at school. I'm actually SAC, student council, teacher advisor at my Monday to Friday school, and I interview. I give students interviews, and my interviews are hard. Okay? So you have to learn how to speak. You have to learn how to shine. You have to learn how to stand out in an interview process. If any of you have interviewed for a job, you know how difficult it is. You know how stressful it is. And then you're always worried that the other interviewees are much more charming. They're much more engaging. So we're working on that.
All those applications are from students outside of LinkedKey. So this will be competitive. We will have offering volunteer opportunities. We will have opportunities to be more of executives and to chair. All of these responsibilities include a lot of research and writing, but I think it's a really, really good experience. One other thing, if you are in high school, this is a really good opportunity to get all of your volunteer hours. If you have not completed that and you have not submitted it, we will be eligible to give you volunteer hours and a small honorarium, right? So guys, it's a nice thing to do during the summer, and I think it's a good experience. I think we're almost getting to the end, guys, so I know you have a lot of questions and ideas and stuff, so please feel free to let us know. So for summer classes, I think it's the first time we're going to experiment with summer classes. The idea is we're taking pre-registration, to see if there's interest for summer classes. This is going to be focused more on competition. We have SUNS coming up in Montreal in October. We have Beijing Model UN next March, but because we have UCC as well in the fall, we have Model City Hall for sure in next spring. We have many, many competitions. So for us, we're trying to look at the summer as an opportunity to focus on skills we usually don't have time for, just because there's so much lecture material we have to cover. For the summer classes, we're going to be focusing more on kind of really rigorous reading schedules. Because during the school year, it's hard because students have a lot of different work they have to read. They have to read school papers and Shakespeare and all this kind of literature. But we're going to be reading at the pace of university students over the summer. This is not going to be for all students. I'm kind of explicitly saying this. These are for students that are mostly already in classes. But if there are new students that are interested in following a rigorous pace, I would highly recommend they join. It's you don't need too much prior knowledge, but it is going to be very competitive. Because for us, when we're going to competition, we do need the time to take a couple weeks, look over the material, look over the history of a country, look over the background research, and we will try to get country assignments as soon as possible. So again, guys, this is more for the more experienced students, but if you're planning on going to SUNS or Beijing Model UN, this is the class you should be part of. There's also going to be like psychology and strategy and stuff like that. So there is one more cool thing. We have a new website. Should I try to Alt-tab and check it out? So we have a new website we're working on. It's kind of our new Model UN portal. Give me just one moment, guys. Sorry, guys. So this will be going up very, very soon. This is going to be our new kind of portal for Model UN classes. Currently for the Model UN program, we have this massive database of Google Classroom where we have every single document students have compiled for a conference. We have, I think at this point, we have like hundreds of documents, readings. So for example, if we send 10 students to our latest conference, we actually send about 25 students. If we send like 25 students to our latest conference, each student has about 5 to 10 readings they do, and then each student produces reading material. So we're going to try to integrate them with the website and our Google Classroom. So all the work that we've done, you'll be able to access old historical work as well. Right? So it's kind of like our students have that advantage where they can build on the experience of previous students. We are still working on the website, but it is, give me 1 second, let's go to this. So I'd like to, we actually have won already an additional 3 awards from the last time I updated this a week ago. So with this, these are kind of the awards we've won just in the past, I would say, just a couple months, because we've only had about 8 months of actual competition time. So we've already picked up awards, first place, second place, honorable mentions. We picked up an additional first, second, and third place at the last conference we went to. This is a really fun fact. At the last conference at Model City Hall Hamilton, within a single committee, we won every single award. Right? So these students are really, really competitive. They're doing an incredible job. So for us, it's kind of, we want to make sure that we are delivering success, but we also want to make sure all students feel like they're growing and they're benefiting. So these are the kind of things we want to update over time. We're also going to have featured students. So we want to showcase our students, try to give them additional opportunities, and we'll probably have more fun stuff planned. 1 second. Is an introduction, right? This is so that any students who are not familiar with Model UN or public speaking, they can get associated and acquainted really, really quickly. But for week A and week B, it is going to be quite intensive. What we already have, we didn't get a chance to show it just because it's not on that Excel spreadsheet, but it will be sent out to all the parents, is during week A and week B, we will be having separated sections. So some of our activities, we will actually separate the more experienced student so that they can work on more intensive reading and writing. But the idea for us is throughout the entire summer camp, we want older and younger students to be together. We want students to help mentor. We want them to have good experiences, explaining complicated concepts. The thing is that this summer camp is designed for a lot of students, but I would say it is intermediate and above. So guys, again, I wouldn't be intimidated. We will do your best to catch everyone, get them up to speed. But this is definitely going to be a really, really fun experience. And the one other point I would say is for our more experienced students, I do like having 2 to 4 hours of class per week, but a single summer camp could be the equivalent, I would say, of like 6 months of training, right? Just because we have you here, I mean, you won't leave, right? And so we can just force you to read, for hours a day. So we will have a lot of really cool fun programming. We also didn't get to mention one more thing. We'll have some really cool speakers coming in throughout the week. We'll try to bring people that kind of specialize in these different topics. Throughout the week, we'll be talking about different parts of the world and different specialized issues. And we'll try to bring in speakers from Toronto, really cool people that can give you more information about that. So yeah. Guys, does anyone have any additional questions, comments, ideas? Yeah.
For the key MUN conference meeting, how many positions
There are exactly 18 positions available. There are 6 for the secretariat. And the secretariat are like the key organizer. They're the board. They're the executive. And there are chairs. Chairs are people who have to chair a committee. So during the day of the conference, they will be running a simulation. But in addition to that, they have to become experts on a specific issue. And in that committee, they will write a background guide that all outside students, and even students within LinkedKey, they'll be reading. So if I come from another school and I want to understand how does the United Nations Economic and Social Committee work, the chairs that are selected, they'll be working with me and Mr. Wu, so we won't, they will have the expertise they need, but they'll be writing the background information for all of that. So it is an intensive position, but we have about 18 positions open. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so compare with DECA and the class, is there any special skill development this model you would focus on?
Like DECA is clearly marketing, business, logistics, and is excellent learning experience, right? I'm a law teacher, I'm an economics teacher full-time, and what I always say is this, that the business world works best when there are clear rules and laws, right? Remember that the government and the court systems regulate contracts. Otherwise, everyone could just be cheating everybody. Okay. For government sets the rules by which we all interact with each other. So for the Model UN, we can simulate anything. We can simulate Shark Tank, which is a very popular TV show. We can simulate fictional works of literature. We can simulate the United Nations. Okay. So to get to your question directly, what does the United Nations offer as a teaching tool? No other debate or club offers group debate or group collaboration. No other teaching tool offers that. Meaning, in BP, I will debate Anthony's son. I will say yes to lottery. He will say no to lottery. It will be a one-on-one experience. We will debate, and all of you must judge in your own hearts whether or not we should legalize gambling. Okay? It's a very, very intense competition, and we're trying to fight until we win. I don't care about Anthony's position. I only want to win. Okay? So then, where is the listening? Where is the listening? Where is the negotiation? Where is the collaboration? Because in the work world that I work in, I have to work with people. And I cannot be so toxic. Because the next day I have to show up to work and I have to be able to say hi. Okay? In Model UN, you must collaborate. You have to be able to disagree with somebody, but in a logical, rational, reasonable way. Another difference between the United Nations and other debate or public speaking topics, I'll say Model UN and say public speaking. Again, if Nirapan was the best man at my wedding, he has to be charming and funny and on time. Okay? And he has to give a personal story about when we were both kids. Okay? In the UN, in the Model UN, we have to innovate solutions. We have to create solutions. So I'll give you a couple good examples. When the United Nations decided to intervene in Libya, or when the United Nations supported the United States first invasion of Iraq, okay, they instituted something called a no-fly zone. In the current Syrian crisis, they created something called the Refugee Corridor that allowed the UN to protect a thin strip of land for refugees to walk out of their own country. Okay? Remember when Syria was poisoning their own people. Remember that the United Nations brokered an agreement to help Syria, with the help of Russia, to remove all biological weapons and then dismantle the biological weapons program. Okay? So the United Nations, as a teaching tool, forces students to think about solutions. In life, it's not good enough to constantly complain. Right? It's not enough to complain. Gas price too high. Hydro price too high. Donuts too expensive. Right? At the end of the day, people want to hear what the solution is. You're not going to hear that in public speaking. You're not going to get that in BP. You might get it in DECA. Okay? But remember that in the UN, there are well over 200 member nations, and all of them have to debate pandemic, disease. They have to debate new rules to govern global air laws that govern air travel. They have to govern laws over who owns the Arctic. And so this is an experience where your child has to work with 8 or 9 other people, contribute new and exciting ideas, and then communicate it to the broader audience and convince them that your solution is better than everyone else's. Okay? That is exactly how the work world works. I take this group of people and I say, we have a task. We have to improve our sales for the next 6 months. Do it. And then as a small subgroup, you got to work on the problem. How is this not like real life? Okay? Are there any other questions?
I think you have a question, right?
Actually, you asked it.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Anything else?
So say if we cannot attend week 1 summer camp, is it still okay to just attend week 2?
Yeah, come. It's just, we advise that you should, but if you want to have the experience, your kid wants to have the experience, come. You know, my philosophy has always been, if you want to learn, I'm willing to teach. Okay? And we have archived all the materials, so then, well, we could just send the material to you. They'll read it on their own time, and then they catch up as much as they can on their own, and then they join the week A and week B. Or week B, or not week A, whatever works for your schedule. For all I know, you might be spending 2 weeks in upstate New York on a family vacation. I don't know. Yes, sir.
For the conferences, do you select from the students, or whoever registers actually gets to go to the conferences?
We're very fortunate that these conferences have become very popular. So in the last, at Hamilton Model City Hall, and also for King's, RH King Model UN, we had close to 30 delegates for each one. So they're very popular. So if you want to go, we will take you. Yeah. And so how it works is we'll say, I will call up the conference and I'll say, please reserve 20 spots for us. Then they will send me 20 roles, 20 positions. And then we ask the students what position they want. And so one person will want to be a counselor in City Hall, another one will want to be United States in Security Council, another one will want to be whatever. And then we try to offer as much choice as possible. Yeah.
Add in there as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yep.
interrupt. I think when it comes to a lot of the conferences, the one thing I would keep in mind is when we're competing, one thing I really want to emphasize is the students have to really be engaged. Like, a very important part of us is when we're competing, I don't think we'll say like, oh, if you absolutely want to go to Suns, we will try to offer preparation. But Model UN only really works if the students are really well engaged. I think it's kind of crucial. Like, I would say our students are really, really dedicated to a lot of Model UN activities. They're going to be the only students, I'm not going to say only students in LinkedKey, but they're going to be one of the only few students that you will see asking for more classes during the summer. So I think it's kind of that kind of dedication is what you really, really need to see from students. And again, we try to offer the best we can, but the only other thing I would say is the advantage of LinkedKey specifically is we have very large delegations, so it means we have many more choices to offer from. When we go to Montreal, they will give us a selection of nearly 15 committees, and from that selection, internally we will decide, okay, everyone's been working hard, let's try to fit everyone's roles. If you have a very small team, it's a lot more difficult to accomplish.
Yes. Another question, like the students, I believe, for the camper, they're going to come from different backgrounds. Somebody probably in public speaking class, somebody probably in MUN already, and somebody probably from grade 6, somebody from grade 11. So what's your suggestion? Like, are they going to, which group of people should come to week 1, which group should come week 2, come to week 3? And also, second question is, how the summer camp going to organize the student so that the students all gain equal level of benefit, not like the program who complicated for a certain group of students, or probably it's too easy for another group. Like if you organize students in the same group, how do you organize the campus?
Do you want to take that or you want me
I
to?
can actually kind of clarify that a little bit. It's sorry, I know we're switching the
fine.
back and forth. So I think one small thing I do want to talk about is sorry, go ahead. So what will happen is a lot of our activities, it's going to kind of come down to us as the coaches. I will say that for sure. We are going to be judging students. I won't be judging all students necessarily the same in that category, but we are going to be having really fun activities. I didn't get a chance to mention this, but I kind of want to. So if you guys see at lunch every day, we have this thing called lunch and logic games. So what we're planning on doing is, regardless of the student, this is kind of a very equal kind of activity. We're actually going to be pulling questions from things like the LSAT and like those kind of really intensive questions. And we're going to be having all the students compete to answer those questions to win prizes, to get dessert. Like if you want to get dessert, you have to answer our questions, right? So kind of our intention is there will be some activities where the students will separate and we will break off into teams, but there will be activities where everyone kind of has to get together and work together. What I will say is for the final days, when we have these open houses, it's just a free-for-all competition. We will have beginner committees and more advanced committees, but even in the real, like even in Model United Nations, we have competitions where they don't even distinguish by age. They just simply have students in a committee discussing an issue. So we actually think it's a really good experience for both older and younger students, because if you're a younger student, you get to see older students compete and speak and discuss and deliberate, but you have older students who have to explain to younger students to win their support. So we think it's a really, really beneficial kind of mentor-mentee relationship, and at the same time, we've seen younger students perform really exceptionally well, right? Does that kind of clarify your question? A lot of it really is just going to come down to the magic of Mr. Wu. He's very good at this as being a teacher, so yeah.
Okay, so I think that the longer that I'm here, working closely with Henry, the more I realize that a lot of the parents and the students, they have this expectation that everything has to be appropriate level and I want small class sizes. It doesn't really work with Model UN. We want a large group because if I can speak to you as parents, you know how when parents tell their children what to do, what do your children usually do? The opposite. As soon as you say cut your hair, they say, I don't want to, right? The benefit of Model UN is you have students challenging other students. So one student will say, we need to cut spending. Another student will say, no, we actually have to increase spending, right? The criticism and the research will come from each other. The larger the group, the better the competition. It would be the same in DECA. In DECA, you're going to have maybe 4 or 5 presenting teams on marketing, right? And you'll have a product like this. You'll have a product like this, and the task will be to create an awesome audiovisual tool, and then you need to market it, right? A good competition is when you have a thick and large and full competition field. very different from the British parliamentary system where you have 1 versus 1. Here we need a large group of students because it's in that large group of students that then the advanced student learns how to command the respect of a large number of people. The beginner student looks at the advanced student and says, wow, I want to be like that. Wow, right? And then in the same class can say, hey, how did you become so good? What can I do next? So you're not just learning from me, you're not just learning from Nirapan, you're also learning from other students and great students. There are great students here at LinkedKey. Does that sort of explain? And as Nirapan did explain, there will be times where we will separate the summer camp because fortunately we have 2 people here. We can break off into more advanced and less experienced. Okay, we can, where we think it's necessary or where we think it is appropriate. But I think that when we're all together, we just have much more fun. Yeah? Yeah. Yes, sir.
I realize your introduction and the week A, week B, both, they all happen on July.
Yeah.
Plan for August.
Remember, this is our beginning year. Yeah. So we're
Some of the students may be already planned something for the daytime or undertaking. So maybe consider
yeah, and we'll take that into consideration, and you know, Henry will discuss that. We'll discuss what is possible, and of course, again, we're just rolling this out now. We're still within the first year.
kind of too late.
Yeah. Carol?
You were mentioning that you're going to have ongoing classes throughout the summer. So
We're thinking about it. We're testing the water to see if there's demand.
what would the day be, or would there be several days? How does that work?
Let's get early support first, and then Henry's always good about asking the parents what their preferred day is, just to make sure that there's the highest participation level, right? Because we want, again, a good number of students, because you know what, during the summer, people take long weekends, Canada Day weekend, Sympho Day weekend, and it doesn't work when you have, say, a fully attended class is 6, and then once you hit a holiday weekend, or even some random weekend, and they decide to go camping, and all of a sudden you're losing 2 students. It's not, you know, it's hard to debate, right? So we want critical mass. We want critical mass.
My other question for you is, if there are those classes throughout the week, how would that work in conjunction with the summer camp? Would it be an evening class, or would it be still in the day?
I think it would be still all in the day. It would be a weekend class. Those continuous classes would run like our Saturday classes. Summer camp is a solution for everyone because they want their kids to have some programming, and also we're preparing for high competition. Like we're really preparing for SUNS, and SUNS is our medium-term goal, and then other international competition after that. Yes.
Except the 2 big conferences mentioned in
Montreal and
China.
yeah.
So do you think about another like international annual conference?
Yeah, we were just discussing that in the last period, that we of course could go back to Cornell, which is, you know, Ivy League, but I personally got an invitation for Chicago MUN.
Chicago is very,
Yeah. So, you know, we're not opposed to it, but at the same time, you know what, families have only so much time because, you know, you have so many other commitments, and your kids have to keep their grades up. So we don't want to overwhelm you. We want to put out there, yeah, because if we put out too many choices, then you end up having 5 students going here, 3 students going there, 6 students going there. Really, we want to funnel everybody into 1 or 2 really special, life-changing experiences. You know, going to Beijing as a delegation, preparing really hard is a really good experience.
Yeah, it's good, but just the time is a little long.
Yeah. And
That's the thing, you know, it's just, I just checked, you know, next year, the March break is in the March, I think 11 to March 15. It's just after March break.
yeah. Yeah, and we'll take that into consideration when we put out the information, and if families are saying that it's a really difficult, then we'll withdraw it and we'll offer something else, something that makes more sense for students and for parents.
Is the Beijing one is the March break time? Sorry.
No, it's after March break. It's the week after March break. Yes.
I'm sorry, my question is not directly related to the summer camp or the conferences. What I want to know is that as you have been teaching this model UN for 15 years, have you any track record or something as to the impact of model UN experience on the future career choices?
Yeah,
Or the
I do.
future road on the students?
Yeah, I do. So I'm friends with a lot of my former students. One is a practicing partner at a law firm and just won a prestigious Ontario-wide law award, Mariam Sharif. Many students have gone on to law at McGill and also at U of T. Vihini Satyamurthy is now just been accepted to Osgoode Hall. If you can imagine, 15 years is still not a long time, so there's still many of my students who still have to make it through. Many have gone on to Schulich and also to Rotman because they find that the skill of collaboration works in the business world. And really, I think, I don't want to embarrass you, but Nirapan really is one of my favorite students because I knew him in grade 8. I taught him. And, you've heard him speak now. You've heard him speak. He has no problem speaking in front of him. He is a part of an elite program at U of T. Last year, U of T heavily subsidized him to live in Japan and study. And he's still only doing his bachelor. And then next year, he's still thinking about what to focus on in his master's. But Nirpan is probably one of the most powerful, most persuasive students I've ever met. In his Model UN career, he won something like 30 first place awards. 30 first place awards in Vancouver, in Montreal, at Cornell, all across Southern Ontario. I never seen anybody so persuasive and so dominant. I've never seen anybody so dominant. There are things he's still teaching me. Really, and now he's an adult and we're friends, and I don't know why he still calls me Mr. Wu. It's kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but so I mean, and then the LinkedKey students, they're really the next stage of my life, right? I mean, in public school, I've had wonderful students. We've produced champions year after year. Nirpan's is the best that I've ever had the chance of working with. I wouldn't say I produced him. I mean, he's a talent on his own. But then the LinkedKey students are really coming along. From my experience, you saw Nirpan lovingly, carefully listing all of the LinkedKey students and all of their accomplishments. We're very proud of what the LinkedKey students have accomplished so far. And we're still, and remember, this is only our first year. This is only our first year of exposing students to this type of debate. Okay? And you know what? Nirpan is good friends with some people who work at Goldman Sachs in the United States. And they'll tell you what an interview process at Goldman Sachs is. It's not, what's your GPA? It's not what award did you win? They're going to sit down with you and ask you, Iran is threatening to blockade the Bosphorus Straits. What will that do to global oil prices? And how should Goldman Sachs respond to that oil crisis and the resulting spike in prices? Knowing global issues is important for banking, for finance, and for anything in the business world. These global issues matter. Okay? What is the price of orange juice and commodities? What will be the price of, should we continue to license companies to withdraw drinkable water? These are not trivial matters. They affect the stock market. They affect finance. They will come up in your child's interviews for jobs. They will come up in interviews for university applications.
Mr. Rick, can I
Yep.
just add in a little bit? Yeah, sure. Sorry about that, guys, because I know you guys probably have some questions on university-related competition. So I think one thing to keep in mind is if you have a student that's really young right now, all I can say is the competition is getting more and more and more incredibly fierce. It's very, very competitive. Like just between when I started university and where I'm at now, I'm part of this college at U of T called Trinity College. And I would say it's the most competitive to get into at U of T. And they only select a small fraction of students every year. So I think if, for example, 15,000 students get accepted to all U of T campuses, just a couple hundred are accepted into Trinity. And for them, the minimum entrance average this year was 96.5%. And on top of that, you have to submit an additional essay to get selected into Trinity. And then finally, you need to have like a list of extracurriculars. It's kind of crazy because you get to meet these incredible people, but it's just that for university, even for science and technology-related programs, it's become incredibly competitive. So I think that one thing we don't really touch upon, I'm not sure we're gonna have time to talk about it today, but it's kind of like, fortunately, I think Mr. Wu has a lot of different connections, I'm well connected, and we're even gonna have alumni that are graduating from the LinkedKey program. I think what we do wanna offer is students that are really energetic, have initiative, we can help connect them to different things they might be interested in, like politics and stuff like that. It's a great experience, especially at like a high school age. I think the reason I want to kind of answer your question that way is when I started doing Model UN, I actually didn't do it at university because I want to move into other fields. But even within high school, after doing really well in the competitive circuit, I actually moved to then work at City of Toronto. So we actually sat on City of Toronto boards, specifically for policing and architecture. So we were elected to youth councils, we represented different wards, and on top of that, I did stuff for the Liberal Party, just the young liberals and stuff like that way back in high school. And then when you go to university, you have to do even more crazy stuff. So I think that there's a lot of really cool ways to transition from competition, Model UN, learn the basics, into even more practical, like real life application. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, right? We gotta go through the classes. We need time just to look at speaking and learning and confidence. But what I would say is I am actually really excited because if there are students that want to do that kind of stuff or get political or get involved, I'm happy to connect them because there's always people looking for like the next generation of who's interested. So again, guys, I don't want to take up too much time, and I think we do have to head out soon. But if you do want to talk to me or have any other questions about competition, just like feel free. I'll be here for a bit. So I'm pretty excited. Anyway.
Well, one thing I would want to add to that, I don't want to sit, stand next to those two guys because I look too small. All right, so real quick one to add to that question, right? So I was, giving a speech last week talking about the admission requirement for the Ivy Leagues, right? So one brief point I made during that speech was that they are looking for not, what kind of students you are. They are actually looking for what kind of people you are, right? So this is a tool that train you to become a better person, right? To become a better communicator, to be able to deliver yourself, to be able to voice yourself, right? So even you are shy people, right? Even you're kind of an introvert. Your personality is kind of introvert. You still have something trying to voice out, right? So this is to help you develop and train for that. The other thing I want to mention is, for the summer camp program, we are intensively preparing the students for the upcoming competitions, right? Such as the SUNS, such as the Harvard Model UN, right? I told many students and parents the same thing when we talk about, prepping for the SAT, things like SAT or SSAT, things like, prepping for the competitions. Make the best use of summer, right? Because summertime, usually you can really make a lot of progress, during that period of time. Especially if you, turn into high school, try to make best use of summertime, all right? Those are the two things I want to mention. Any other questions? Maybe we can take.
I would add one more thing. Why LinkedKey? We're the only ones going to big trips. We're the only ones going to these big international conferences. So for everybody else, you're going through your own school. At your own school, you might not have a Model UN or even a DECA club. So that means, and some of you do, right? Some of you might not even have a BP club. Here it's happening. I've seen some schools don't even have a robotics club. Do you see what I mean? Here we have a concentration of parents and concerned students who want to have this experience, and because we have the critical mass, we go. So that's what makes LinkedKey different than some of the other enrichment academies. Okay, so we know what's going on elsewhere. And there are other great teachers, but we're the only ones offering a Southern Ontario-wide conference. We're the only ones off in the summertime, and we're the only ones offering these big trips to go together and share in that experience. I teach in public school. Public school can't afford this. You're going to have a full class of people who love politics and love debating and love business, but not everyone is going to see the value and allocate that much money to that experience. Here, it's possible. There, yep.
And you guys really advocate for the students in the conferences.
Yep.
Which makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any other school do that.
I'll speak to the students right now, really simply. Up until now, and this is what I see is the problem with all schooling, private or public. In high school, school gives you a book. You read the book. You memorize the book. Teacher gives you tests. That's not real life. So my wife did that. She went to school, teacher gave her book, teacher gave her the test. She got 100% on everything. Good. She put herself through school, bachelor, master's, full scholarship. Didn't have to pay a cent. She was good at memorizing. Now she works for Sanofi Pasteur, the world's second largest pharmaceutical company. But they don't give her a textbook and they don't give her a test. What they do is they give her a problem. We have cancer. Can you fix that? And that's what her job is. Eventually, your learning has to be discarded. Then you become a problem solver. That's where you show your value. Okay? Sanofi Pasteur is an old company with very, very old patents. And in a couple years, generic companies are going to be able to make all the Sanofi Pasteur products at generic prices. And Sanofi Pasteur is going to lose all those income streams. So what do you think Sanofi Pasteur wants from its workers? To invent new drugs, to establish new revenue streams. That is the valuable worker of tomorrow. The valuable worker of tomorrow is the one who creates something for this, right? That's why creativity and innovation are really the crowning glory of all this learning. The memorization, the logic is important, but you eventually must work towards innovation. Because later on, someone, a boss or a manager, is going to ask you, what can you do for me? And that's what distinguishes our program here. We work on that. We want you to have that competitive edge when going to post-secondary and then in the work world.
Yeah. I mean, it's all your fault, Mr. Wu. You opened up this topic. I can talk for maybe another 2 hours, but I want to keep it real brief. If you ask me, what kind of student like Harvard University or Princeton, are looking for, they are looking for someone who can really solve problems. They are looking for someone who can really make a decision, right? Same thing applies to, when you try to apply a job at Goldman Sachs, right? They're looking for the same kind of stuff. So, I mean, again, I don't want to drag this for too long, so I can talk this for, I mean, I don't know, hours and hours, but we'll find another time to talk about this, right? Any other questions? Otherwise, it's been, 2:30 or 2:20. We'll take one more. No? Yes? Okay. So we can talk, if I have more questions, we can talk privately. Otherwise, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Hopefully, I'll see you soon. All right?